about, I kind of say about life, about people who really have experienced a lot, want to make a lot to happen. And I just happen to be seated next to a young lady, and we're talking about a lady that is a senior citizen that has experienced a lot of things in life. And this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about her experience. And I found that a lot of ladies, especially women, when they become 60 or more, they seem to have situations health-wise.
Well, that was a telltale sign.
So what happened, I was talking to this lady, and we were first talking about her different experiences in life, and this lady is, from what she told me, is well educated on life, and a situation she had in her life, and that really woke me up about a replacement. But first, let's welcome to Guess Who's Coming to Kansas City, Miss Martha.
Hello.
And how are you this Saturday afternoon?
Well, I tell you, I'm doing absolutely fabulous.
Okay, well, let's talk about the things in life. We'll get to what really made me turn around that replacement that you had. Let's talk about who you are, where you from, and how you got involved in the things that you learned about this tremendous life you lead.
Well, who I am is just an ordinary woman, you know, that's just trying to follow after the Lord and do the things that He wants me to do. And how I got here, I'm a military child, raised Army, and I was in there with my father for 18 years. So he took us around the world 3.5 times, and I've visited about every country in the world, and I can speak like 6 languages because of the states I lived in. And by the time after I was 18, my parents moved to Kansas City, Missouri, and I was living in El Paso, Texas. And my dad said, you know what, there's no reason for you to stay there by yourself. So with my father's encouragement, I moved to Kansas City in 1979. And I worked for Social Security because I was a government employee. But one day, one of the friends, a friend of mine, his name was Mr. Greenwood, and he was trying to get scholarships out to people, to the students here in Kansas City. And you know what? He had gone to every school that he could possibly go to, and not one of them accepted his full-time scholarship right to go to Park College. And when I overheard that conversation, I said, you know what? If he had offered it to me, I would definitely have gone to Park College. And you know what? He looked at me and he said, would you accept this? And I said, yes, I would. So he gave me a number to call. That was out of Park College, and told me to go there and tell him that he had sent me there. And when I got to Park College, they just automatically said, oh, Greenwood sent you? And he was, it turns out, was on the board of directors. And he went on, the short story of that is, they went on to give me a full ride scholarship to Park College, in which I graduated in 2.5 years with a degree in political science and foreign languages. And that's when the rest of my life began to start. What more do you want me to talk to you about?
Well, you know, you said you went to Park College. I went to also, now it's Park University. I went there, so-called VIP, but you was more of a VIP when you went there. But then in the health situation, where you got a heart replacement, that made me turn around, okay? And then you told me your heart, your mother actually took a photo of your heart. Tell us about that and how long that has been. And that really got me, I jumped out of my seat. Not really jumped, but That made me wake up.
You know, I spent about 25 years in federal government and public service before I decided to start my own business. I wouldn't have.
Okay. Are we there?
We lost her. Let me see here.
Huh.
I think she's still there.
Okay. Oh, okay, I hear her. Miss Marvin, don't be leaving us now.
Okay.
Now, we were talking about the federal government. I was talking about when you told me that you got a heart replacement, how long that's been, and your mother actually took a photo of it and showed it to you.
Yeah, let me get you to that point.
Okay.
Because, you know, in 2006, the Lord called me into full-time ministry. And I've never been in full-time ministry, but I started off by doing revivals. And I did 8 revivals in 2007 at different churches, and as I was invited. But in 2008, I was so tired and exhausted. I just finished a 40-day healing revival when I asked the Lord, I don't know if I could even climb the stairs to my apartment right now. I can't breathe. So maybe I would be a better service to you in the kingdom of heaven than here on earth. But in one way or the other, Lord, either you're going to have to take me home or you're going to have to fix me. And 2 days later, my husband was taking me to the ER out at TMC Lakewood. And when they brought me in, the first thing they discovered that my saturation rate was only 55, which at that point I should be dead and not even standing and walking. But I could. And then the doctor came in, and she came in after they finally looked at all of the information. She said I had 2 weeks to live. And at that point, I said, Lord, are you taking me home now? But the Lord says no. He says, I choose to fix you. So as I tried the heart transplant, you have to come up with $500,000 before they can even talk to you. And they don't really care whether you live or die. It was all about the money. So I laid it before the Lord, and I said, Lord, they want $500,000. I don't even have a penny in my name here. So I just continued to worship the Lord and tried to save everybody who was coming in my room, like the janitors and the nurses. But you know what? The very next day, somebody called me and said, we have a number for you to give to the transplant people. And she gave me a number. I called them, and I said, I've been asked to give you this number with regarding a call because it was the same woman who I talked to before who said, we will not accept you because you don't have the number. She took that number, and 15 minutes later, she came back on the phone and she said, well, all righty then. Okay, we will set a schedule for you to come into the transplant office. From that point on, one miracle after another continued to happen because I didn't die in 2 weeks. It was 11 months later before they found a heart for me. But during that, they said I only had a 25% chance of survival of this operation. So I said, you know what? The Lord is with me, and He is my guide, and I will accept everything that He has said to me. And you just do what you do, and I do what I do, which is pray. And I went into that surgery. But when I was the surgery, the strangest thing happened. Because I opened my eyes to find myself in a place that looked like a snow, a puzzle, a place where you would go through hedges and try and figure out how you're going to get out of the puzzle. And I could hear the sound of music that sounded like Christmas music, but it wasn't Christmas music. And I could feel that somebody was trying to push me along. And as I pushed along that path that was gone, suddenly a bright light opened, and I could see it. And at first I was nervous, and I said, oh my goodness, what shall I do now? But within a twinkling of an eye, that bright light pulled me into it. And the next thing I found is I was standing in the hallway of the hospital, as if I was waiting, and there were people there like they were waiting. And I could see my husband and other people who were there. And what they did was they just stood there. And I went up to my husband and I waved my hand at him and I said, "Hey, move over so I could stand beside you." And it all looked like they were waiting for an elevator to go down. But when I waved my hand in front of me, all I saw was a fog behind my husband, but my hand is absolutely clear. And the next thing is I heard a door open behind me. And the person behind me walks into the door and he said, "Sheila, I've been waiting to meet you." And I turned around to see a very plain-looking man who wasn't very attractive. As a matter of fact, I thought he was a continuer in Jesus of some sort. And I said, "Who are you?" And he didn't say anything. He just smiled. And his eyes seemed like they were twinkling. And as he came forward towards me, I said, "Sir, I really don't know who you are." And I stepped further back where I saw my husband was standing. And he held out his hand. And even in his hands, I don't know why I didn't notice, but there were holes in his hands. And he continued to come forward. And I said, "Wait, sir, you don't realize it, but this is my husband standing behind me." And he said, "I know." And he still continued closer. And as he got closer to me, I began to feel something inside of me stirring up. And all of a sudden, all of these things and burdens that have been in my life, all of a sudden went whoosh and fled from me. You know those things that fled? There were things like doubt and fear and selflessness and anger and suicide and all those things that have come upon us as we walk into this life. And when they left, my eyes were open and I could see the person who was sitting in my eyes because he was filling me with the love of his life. And the closer he got, the more love built inside of me, to the point that I looked at him and I said, "I don't know what this is about, but I want whatever you have." And then he came closer and he began, as he reached out his arms to catch me, I fell in his arms and instantly I knew I was in the arms of the Lord. So that's just the beginning of what had happened in the time. I've written a book to outline all of the places that Jesus took me, how he sees the world, how he hears our prayers, how he speaks to us individually, how he gives us, "I need you to go and do this," and how many of them said, "No, we don't want to do it because either we're not strong enough or we don't like it or we want to do it our way, not your way." And there was very few of them when Jesus said, "Will you do what I asked you to do?" It was just like a minute number said, "Yes, I will do what you asked me to do. I will give you my will." And from that point, there was so much more, and I would love to share it with as many people as I can, because I wrote it all out and put it in a book, but I don't plan to sell it. I plan to give it away to as many as I can, because the story isn't actually about me per se. It is about us as the church and how God sees us on the earth and how few of us are there and how many still need to be out there preaching the gospel so that those will not be left behind when that time comes. But when I woke up, I realized that, I was back in my place. And there's more to it than me coming back, because Jesus actually sends me back and tells me it was not yet my time. And I cried because I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay because it was so beautiful, so amazing. And the things I saw and the one things that he showed me were beyond belief and beyond even our imagination. because we don't have the imagination to understand how the Lord is and what he thinks. But when I did wake up, the one thing that the surgeons noted in my file and came out and told my parents is that when they brought the donor heart to me, that cold, dead heart that was ready to be connected to my body, but instead of it being connected at that time, when he said when the heart came close to my body, the heart started beating on its own without any connection. It frightened the nurses, and even the doctors were like, what is going on? And they put that heart into me, and it started just beating perfectly. And, you know, that was just the beginning of the transformation that the Lord started me on a path that I never expected to be on. And as I was doing a hospital visit, I shared this with MC, is that I became curious as to what happened to my old heart. And they said, oh, we have it. And I said, I'd like to see it. And so they raised the time, and they brought down our heart, had taken it out of the formaldehyde it had been in, and they had laid it on a very clean cloth. And my mother came with me. At first, I was a little bit, you know, it scared me to see my heart, which was already 4 times bigger than a normal heart. And it was shredded because the doctor said when he opened up my chest, he could not believe I was still alive, that I should have been dead. But I wasn't, for the grace of God. And then they asked if I would like to hold it. I said, no. But my mother said, I would like to hold it. And so my mother went over and picked the heart up in her hand. Oh, God. And I took pictures of my mother holding my heart, which was absolutely beyond anything I could even explain how I felt. And my mother, who had no fear, just said, wow, this is awesome. And so it has now been 13 years since I had that heart transplant. I've gone through a lot of issues and changes and have to spend a lot of time in the hospital, but guess what? I have made it to the other side. They did not expect me to live past 5 years, and yet I am now at 15 years. And they think that I'm not going to make it any further, but I know how powerful the God I serve is. And he says, until I say so, you will not die. And so that's the short story of what has happened in my life up to date.
Okay, I've had other shows working with another station about organ transplant, and the people, I remember we go back, and this is really dated, back during the Frankenstein days when they would take different parts from different people or things to make, well, I don't know if that's true. We got a place called Frankenstein, but it was called a scary movie. And now it's reality of the different transplants people are having, organ transplants. I know that also in women, they have leg replacement, hip replacement, and what have you. But let me ask you, had you suffered at heart problems prior to, you knew you had to go to the hospital for this?
Oh, yes, I did. Because the thing is that I had been living with a low saturation rate that I wasn't aware of for years. And the doctor suggested that he believed that it is a virus that attacked my heart. And it's a virus that I'd had since I was like young, maybe in my teen years. I just didn't know it. And as the time came closer to 2008, all of a sudden I was having difficulty breathing. I was having my ejection fraction had gone down to like 15. I mean, all of the signs of one who has heart trouble and heart failure, I was going through that. They actually had to put an infusion bag on me for the last 6 months before they got a heart, because when I went in there, their whole thought is that I would never survive this, and they said they didn't believe that I would be able to live in order to get a transplant because my heart was in such bad condition. But again, the Lord God our Father had another plan, and so was that painful? Yes. Did I go through challenges? Yes. Did I wonder whether or not that was actually going to happen or if I was going to die? Yes. But I said, you know what? If God said that immediately, I would not die. So I'm going to hold on to that and believe in Him and trust in Him and believe, even to this moment, that sickness has no place in us because God is Jehovah Rapha. He is our healer. And that is what I held upon. And even in the times when I wasn't sure if we would be able to support any of the other things we had to take care of, He became Jehovah Jireh. And He provided all the medicines that I needed. Up until this day, I have to still take a bevy of medicines, but God has made sure that I have not had to pay one cost on doing any of these things. And, and it's amazing what happens when you have your trust in the Lord and how He actually is listening and He does do what He says He's going to do. One of the things that Jesus said to me before he said it was time for me to go, He said that, He says, do you know all of the promises in the Scriptures? And even though I didn't know, I kind of acted like I did, but I said, oh, not really. And He says, He says, all of them are true. He didn't even ask me to read them. He just made that declaration that every promise that you can find in Scripture, in the Old Testament and the New Testament, are true. And all of those promises lead to eternal life. It leads to a time when He's going to return. And I got to tell you, right now, the sign of the times, they're telling us that He is returning. And He's going to be here faster and sooner than we believe. I believe that Jesus will return in my lifetime. And I know a lot of people have said that before in other generations, but this is the last generation that we are living in. And we see those signs all around us as described in Revelation and in the New Testament, in all of the New Testament, and in the Old Testament. He is coming. And if we are not ready and prepared for it, then we will be ones who are left behind when others are not, are caught up to meet Jesus in the air.
Okay, Ms. Moffett, we're talking, I'll ask a person to see if we had another veteran military person, see if they're available. But then what I would like to do is kind of open it up for the people in Ferguson and St. Louis. I'm quite sure. Now, part two, I know some people that have pacemakers. What's the difference between that? A lot of people get the pacemaker because they have some type of irregularities, if I'm saying that right, with their heart. Did you have to have a pacemaker, or you just found out? And then you told me it was a younger woman that had an accident that was killed that provided you with the heart that you now have within you today.
Yes, that's correct. She and her husband wrote a letter to me to share because of how the system works. There is no contact between you and the donor. You do not. When you go in, you get no information about who it was or how they perished or any of that information. Nothing personal about it. But the donor husband had a right to talk to us. And he sent a letter through Eunice, and it told us about who the donor was. And she was a mother, had 4 children, and she loved the Lord. And he said that he was so grateful that from her death, there were 3 people who received organs from her. One of them received a liver, the other ones received a kidney, and I received her heart.
Well, let me ask you, a lot of times they said, if I might be using the wrong word, but certain organ replacement, they have to be compatible or they have the same type of blood or whatever. Was that true in your situation?
Yes. I'm an O-type blood, and because of my blood type, it is incredibly difficult to get a heart. Because people with A and B blood type can be matched with an O, but an O can only be matched with an O.
Okay.
So it took 11 months, and I had to survive that 11 months, but I survived it by the grace of God, not by anything that I did.
I know that. Oh man, I just don't know. It was the second case when I was. Well, I'm a veteran, and a young lady when they. I think I repeated this last time I talked to Aura. That's the other guy online with us. That with Magic Johnson when they said he had the virus, and then I had some blood transfusion. I was afraid of that. Was a young lady. This is we're in Kansas City, ours up in Ferguson, St. Louis. Well, a young lady from St. Joe, Missouri, was in the hospital, and so I was up there fearing because I had to have some pints or units of blood. And she said, "Have you heard about me?" I said, "No." She said that I had a heart transplant. Immediately, my little blood transfusion didn't mean anything. And it's so common nowadays with transplants or leg replacement, but I found in most cases, women are the ones. I don't know that situation, why only a few guys that I have known that had some type of replacement. Now, a lot of them, they're going to dialysis, whatever, about the kidneys. But I like to open it up. If we can't get Miss Williams, I'd like to have some input from you.
Okay, well, see, I'll maybe try her one more time, okay? To make sure, okay? Okay, one more time.
Miss Moffett, that was extremely, when you allowed me to sit down. And we sat down a little while because the weather wasn't that bad that particular day. It was last Wednesday. And but you just kind of opened my eyes, and we just sat and talked. Then when it got a little warm, we went inside till our ride came and got us. But you just, oh man, just actually, a lot of people hear about things, or somebody tells stories, but I actually had opportunity to be seated right next to a person who had undergone this and was telling us what she thought she could do for people. But I actually have been still, I think, 13 years since you had the heart placement, right?
Yes. It's been 13 years since I had that heart replacement. And I suspect that I will live at least another 15 years. Because I have a great work to do. And it is going to be about going out to the smaller churches and being able to share the gospel, giving them a copy of this book, and then helping them financially in any way that I can, so that they can be prepared for what is about to come. Because the end of the days is upon us, and the church needs to be prepared.
Okay, I think, Aura, you back?
Yeah, I got Miss Williams on the phone also.
Oh, well, how are you doing, Miss Williams?
I'm well, Mr. Richardson. How are you today?
Well, trying to catch up with you. You've been very difficult. We have a young lady Sheila Moffitt, and I met her the other day, and we call her a military brat. She's traveled all over the world, and we were sitting down talking, and she brought me to my feet where it's been 13 years now that she had a heart replacement. And I just wanted to kind of tell the people about you. I call you the bus driver, which you're using the Air Force, and certain experiences. And tell our audience, well, her name is Sheila Moffitt, okay? I just want you to bring, just tell a word about you and what you normally do. And I was saying about, I found out that women most of them over 60, you guys have, well, we all have health issues, but normally they have different replacements. So let's kind of bring our audience up to who Karen Williams is.
Okay. Well, Karen Williams is from Boston, Massachusetts. Born and raised. I joined the military and the Air Force in 1976. I was one of the first 100 women. They allowed it to be the security program where we were training for line combat. My position during this training was machine gunner. So I was in charge of the M60 machine guns, extra barrel carry. We would do maneuvers, 24 maneuvers, 48-hour maneuvers, where we had to maintain a line. Out in the jungle, there was actually a forest in Texas. It's outside San Antonio. And we lived there. If everybody knew the sitcom, the tents and the potbelly stoves, that's how we lived. And so since then, when the program ended, they allowed us for any job that we would. So I went into administration and was the base commander and that's where I started from my service. That was in 19. So I did a total active duty. I went on to have my degree in therapy. Had my, while raising and running a video time. Then from there, my family's grown up now, and I got married and into this wonderful. His name was James Williams Sr. Then and just before my brother-in-law and I and his brother were the founders of DOT, keeping community on guard. Our purpose is to make sure our community, neighbors, everybody in church with us is aware of the benefits they're not receiving. They need to be aware of what's going on in their city hall. They need to be aware of the programs that we do for them that take advantage. For example, I've been having COVID. I've had rental and utility assistance. I have helped over.
Oh, okay. Do I hear some other people speaking?
Ms. Martha, could you mute your phone, please?
Yes, I can. Hold on.
Okay. Okay, great, Ms. Williams.
Thank you. I've helped over. So I have not called back. They have told that they were denied. I have got rent from April 20 up to today for everything they can that
where somebody is directly affected with COVID. And so there's millions of dollars put out and rental. I helped one lady with, she hadn't her here. Yeah. Then they paid 3 months ahead so that she could get back on her feet. That's 90 days where you don't have to work. We paid $2 for electric, $5,000 water deal. People in our community is struggling.
Okay, what happened? How I got met this lady? She allowed me to sit next to her, and the person that really connected us is Karen was Lamar.
Yes.
That's how we got connected. And then she told me about her experiences and everything, and that just kind of blew my mind. Just actually sitting next to her now. Karen Williams is a veteran of the Air Force, and she was supposed to be our co-host today. And when we finally got connected with her, she told you where she was born. And what I forgot, I said the age that time, the lady from St. Joe told me she had a heart transplant, was AIDS, with Magic Johnson. And then they said, when they said the age, and then what recently I was going to ask Karen about, and they said this came from Africa. They got a virus going around now called monkeypox.
Yeah.
And they said the person is from Eastern Africa and then went to Canada and is now back, and they said Massachusetts where a lot of people are getting this, unheard of a virus. We seem to have a lot of viruses occurring nowadays, and a lot of them, they say, originated in Africa.
Yeah, that's true. The one thing that they do say about this is that this is not something that is transferable like COVID. You cannot get from the air transmittal or anything like that. So the problem is, I don't know how it's transmitted, but it's not air virus.
Well, I'm quite sure you're there, and I know you always have to say something that is needed to be said, so we'd like to hear from you.
Well, MC, first of all, I am just blown away, okay, by these two beautiful young ladies. You know, how they have took a course through life that brought us all together today, you know, on your program, especially Miss Margaret, you know, with the heart transplant, and for her to humbly meet you, and you guys become friends, and also for Miss Williams, you know, to put the past here now, and I think I talked to her once before on a program with Lamar, things that they're doing in the cancer community there. I'm just happy and honored, okay, to be a part of the program, and I'm glad that they all called in, okay, because they both have stories to tell, how they've been a part of the community, and how God has blessed both of them, you know, and blessed us, and then the trust that we are part of this program. And I'm just been sitting back, and this is especially this month, okay, with a spirituality that's been sharing how God has just blessed her and blessed her and blessed her, and continue to bless her to this day.
Ladies, anytime, and you're listening to Guess Who's Coming to Kansas City, and we think this is another one of the great programs and no nonsense, that we hope that you get more of your friends to start listening into all our shows, and and both of you, I didn't ask Miss Moffitt, are you a mother, Sheila? Do we still have her?
Okay, she has that phone call with you. She needs to unmute.
Yes.
Okay.
You're asking if am I still a mother?
Yes.
Oh, yes. I have a daughter.
Well, then I can say my other deal, happy belated Mother's Day to both of you.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
That's so appreciative.
And I are just waiting for next month, or it'll be our day, Father's Day, okay?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
We'll call you on Father's Day. I'm also a grandmother. I've got 2 grandchildren. And my granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter, is getting her doctorate degree in organic chemistry and is due to graduate this year. And so, and my daughters, all both went to Spelman College. And then my daughter graduated in biochemistry. And she's now doing some, as a home business, she makes her own beauty products and then sells them at the market. And they are just really, really exceptional because they love that. And my daughter was also wise enough to foresee what was coming. And she made a front yard in her backyard into a garden. And also, I didn't think anything, Quail. There's several fruit trees around her house, and that's her farm to market solution that she came up with. And she started this about 2 years ago. And I was on the curve before. Yeah, that is wonderful.
You know, and lots of wonder things, okay. I'm also the CEO of the Missouri Black Chamber of Commerce, and we have a chamber in Georgia. We have, that's very active, and with your daughter being a business person down there, I thought if someone I can put her in contact with our person in Georgia. We have to expand her business and make some more money.
Yeah, I get that. And you know what? My daughter is in Marietta, Georgia. And she's really flourishing very well there.
Oh yeah, that's a place, yes.
I know, but I didn't expect that. I expected her to come home after college, but I had to come to that realization. She's never come to Kansas City.
No. I got a daughter in Georgia also, but she was in Atlanta, but she moved down to Macon, Georgia right now. So, she was in St. Louis, but to Atlanta years ago, and she kind of fixated down there, and I come back to Missouri, she said.
Yeah, I had Lyles. She's my baby girl, and she won't come back to the Yeah.
And I have my oldest daughter, by the way. I have 3 girls. My older daughter was, matter of fact, yesterday was her birthday, and she's out in Colorado Springs. And she's not going to make a St. Louis either. And I have a daughter here that stayed here, and she's staying with us. So right now, but we all blessed to have daughters, and that's a blessing. At least I think so.
Well, as a single mother, raising 2 girls, I had no idea what they were going to do. Well, I felt what they were going to do, and they surprised me. We went the opposite direction.
Don't they always?
Yeah. When I was in college, like I said, I also ran a business while raising my family. And so, like I said, I finished my degree and then continued the business and then started working for myself in my degree in occupational therapy while raising my family, and I did that forever. It was a wonderful experience, and it was easy because I could make my own schedule and be there when they needed me for high school and stuff. And lo and behold, my girls come to me. They started their careers, had their family, then went to college, just like I did. I said, y'all copy this, and I looked at them and I said, this is generation. I'm watching them do this.
because my granddaughter did the same thing. So it's on the great grandmother too, I think. And same thing. She graduated out of school, she went to work, started raising the family, and now she's in. I am one proud grandma.
What they all saw was a mom that worked okay, so he tried themselves.
But and so the other thing I wanted to share with you is that since I've come to Kansas City and I've met Lamar, who is my driver for taking me to dialysis, we got to talking while he was driving and discovered that he was on the verge of an emerging organization called United Organization Coalition. And what that they're trying to do is, well, not trying to do, but they are doing it, is that they are putting together a coalition where all of the different organizations that can affect the inner city can come together and be a part of, let us start the revitalization of Prospect Street and the inner city without waiting for government support. Because the fact is, you don't necessarily need government in order to redo buildings, paint them, offer your services, go through the neighborhoods, have help them get clear. And with many volunteers that are already stepping forward, they're saying, we're ready to do it. And all it takes is a can of paint and a paintbrush, and you to knock on the door and say, how can we help you? And I have been appointed as the director of operations for this coalition so that we could get it all together and start moving in each of the departments as they're brought up. We want to touch almost every element that affects the community, like economics, and home repairs, political, social, and even law enforcement. All of these different departments that we're establishing, citizen organizations in each of them, they have their own businesses, but they are choosing to contact with us or to do the service at no cost or to help become so that we can bring this inner city into a better and new environment which the Lord had already promised that He was going to do. And one of the thought concepts that I have put into this is saying, we need to remember family first here. We have families that we have not come together or unified within the inner city, and there's a way that we can do it. And so one of the ideas that we had was to bring in homeschool home is what I call it, which is to establish a home that's going to be a homeschool for the children in that particular area. So they can all go to homeschool without the parents having to suffer greatly with one parent having to stay home and another parent having to work. This way, it's a win-win situation for everyone. And as we establish these types of homes, we're going to establish one that is a food house, which we will be able to provide meals morning, afternoon, and evening. It will be for the family in that area, but if there's somebody who is of great need, we will also receive them. We're also going to put in a red house, which would be one that is that will start with the things that we should start off anyway, and preventative things. And if somebody got a hangnail, or maybe there's a little broken eye, or maybe there's a blood lead, or maybe they're sick and they just don't know where to go, that would be made available by using PAs they're not quite doctors, so the PA would be able to do limited medicine prescriptions, but if there's something that they cannot handle, then they will be sent over to one of the major hospitals around us for further instructions. So it's like taking all these homes and just rehousing the empty ones and bringing in new and fresh blood and, putting out florals and helping those who are elderly to be able to cut their grass or to make, changes or fix their room. And to bring about all of these within our community where we are helping them instead of them trying to figure out what do I need to do. That is something I've made a commitment to do. And that is what I'm doing and bringing forward towards this organization that I hope in this coalition that everyone will become participant of it, because as I'm beginning to speak with the organizations, they're all saying, where do I sign up? Just so that you have, we can call upon you when there's a trouble. We need a house cleanup. Who's going to treat that house? Do we call some expensive contractor? Or do we get out of Tennessee and do what we already know how to do and go fix the house and change it? And just make all of our streets back to where Prospect Street should have been. Prospect Street is now growing. And it needs to be, there's so much more that needs to be done. How long has the government said we're going to be doing this? We will fix this. We will change the inner city. We will stop all of the violence and the corruption and all of the gang fights and all of these other things. We will stop it. But the fact is, we as a community.
Okay, before our time runs out, and it happens like this every week, I just want to say Lamar Vickers, Karen, he was recruiting Miss Sylvia that to become a part of keeping the community on guard. So that's how we've met up, and he immediately, Lamar, he's out there recruiting. If he can meet somebody that really has a lot to offer, immediately he recruits them, okay?
Yeah.
And that was transpired the other day, and I know that this time again we got maybe about 5-6 more minutes. So let's kind of tell the people about different things, what you're involved in, how we should unite, as Ms. Sylvia was saying, and that seemed to be so difficult for black people of color or other nationalities. You have the Native American, you have the Hispanic. They seem to come together more quickly as a group than people of color speaking African Americans, in my opinion.
I know, and I can agree with you. But you know what? I look back at during the time when Martin Luther King was the one who stepped up to the plate to help unify us as a people group. And until he stepped up to the plate, the African American culture was totally discombobulated. I mean, they didn't know what to do. You know what? In these circumstances, it always takes one to step up to the plate and say, "Dear Lord."
Now who's talking now for the benefit of our listeners? Tell them who you are.
Who doesn't know who am I?
Your name.
My name is Sheila Moffitt.
Okay.
All right. This is Karen Williams. In response to what you were saying, Sheila, KCOG is on top of that. Just bringing the community together. Today we had a neighborhood leadership meeting with KCOG. We have all these neighborhoods that we're working with coming together, and the topic of our conversation today was the budget from City Hall and the equal distribution throughout our neighborhoods, the redistricting impact, and our voter registration motivation. That we're getting ready to pull all that together. And there's other topics that we talk about. This has been an ongoing thing, so it's finally coming to fruition, where we have brought all of these neighborhoods together, and now we are on that road to having that unity. And when I say neighborhoods together, that also includes all the other organizations that are also involved. Not just the neighborhoods, but those organizations that are within the neighborhood and that also help the neighborhood,
all the other non-profits that are out there. We've got them all coming together. This is going to be fantastic. I can't wait to speak with you more. Okay, that's exactly what I'm saying. And all I'm doing is providing direction. I provide direction, helping them, understand, how an organization is structured. And what are the orders? What we use Robert orders and conversations. And to be like a liaison between all of the different neighborhoods to bring them closer and closer together. I am very well with KCOG, and KCOG actually falls under our coalition.
Right. The only thing we already have all that in place, but we have that further, definitely.
You guys already have a system in place, but I've got other sections that are part of the coalition that do not have a system in place yet. And so we're not trying to put all of them in place at one time. We're trying to going like one section at a time so that we can be successful with what we start with instead of being so expanded that we won't be able to complete all.
I know we could continue with this, but unfortunately, I head up the United Minority Media Association. You'll be hearing more for it. And also keeping the community on guard as one of our associate members, the same way with our up in St. Louis and the Missouri Black Chamber. So you always saying you're a producer. I'm going to allow you to take us out of this show and prepare for other shows. Just tell the people about your show so we can stay connected and get more people involved with all of us.
That would be awesome.
Yes, my name is Alan Folks with the Missouri Chamber of Commerce, and we have a show every Thursday from 1 to 3. And this coming Saturday, we'll be talking with the ministry, restoring a series of programs about the black church and the black community, how you can be more viable to the community. And you can be heard every Saturday at 1 o'clock on FreedomFromUSA.com. And both ladies, I will send you a copy of today's show. And so you will have this for your archives also.
Tell me about what happened about the bishop of the Church of God in Christ. What he's now, he got another powerful position, the second in the world. Briefly tell him about that before we close out.
Bishop Lawrence Wood, the Church of God in Christ has over 8 million members worldwide. Bishop Wood is from St. Louis, Missouri, and he'll be inaugurated on the 10th of September as the number two bishop in the world behind Bishop Shields out of Detroit. And that's the whole wide world. He's the number 2 man, and he actually do the daily activities of the Church of God in Christ. It's one of the largest church outfits in the world.
Wow. That's wonderful. Wow, praise God. Hallelujah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for this Saturday, and need to talk to each and every one of you. And Miss William, I will call you right back. And thank you, and thank Scott for being the engineer. And we got a lot of things going on, and we all look at reality of becoming and we've got to really put you on a pedestal, Miss Moffett, for still, after you had that heart transplant, and the Lord with you, and what you've done, you didn't just say, I got a new transplant. You were actually doing what you were put here for, and so we want to congratulate you. And then the bus driver, Teaser, she's an Air Force veteran. Thank all of you for joining, and we'll talk to you next week.
Life is good and peace for your face, man.